The sun was setting over the dusty plains, casting golden light across the ranch. Clara's bare feet pressed into the hard earth, bruises visible on her body. Wearing only torn underwear and bra, she leaned against the gnarled tree at the edge of the corral, exhausted and vulnerable, unsure if she could trust anyone. The wind whispered through the prairie grass, and the distant lowing of cattle reminded her how alone she felt. Ethan, broad-shouldered and rugged, wearing his brown hat, red bandana, vest and boots, approached slowly. He knelt beside her, eyes soft but cautious, showing concern. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently. Clara hesitated, and for a moment the harsh world seemed to fade. Clara's breathing was shaky as Ethan held out his hand. She looked up at him, unsure of what to do. He remained kneeling, patient and calm, his eyes full of concern. "You're safe here," he said softly. She slowly took a small step forward, leaning lightly on him for support. The prairie wind moved through the tall grass, casting long shadows across the corral. Clara felt a flicker of trust for the first time in days. The ranch house stood in the distance, warm light spilling from the windows, promising safety and shelter. Clara followed Ethan slowly toward the small wooden ranch house. The scent of hay and leather filled the air. She sank into a chair near the fireplace, exhausted and weary. Ethan stood nearby, adjusting the saddle he had carried in. The warm light from the fire highlighted the bruises on her skin. For the first time since the journey began, she felt a small spark of relief. The wind whispered outside, and the distant lowing of cattle continued. She watched Ethan carefully, his movements calm and purposeful. A fragile sense of trust began to grow between them. The night stars twinkled above the endless plains. Clara sat by the fireplace, watching Ethan mend the saddle. The room was quiet except for the crackling of the fire. She felt the weight of exhaustion slowly lifting. Ethan glanced at her briefly and gave a small reassuring smile. The silence between them felt heavy with unspoken understanding. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to breathe freely. A subtle connection of trust and care was forming between them. The warm glow of the fire highlighted the contours of her bruises, and the tension in her body slowly eased. Clara's gaze met Ethan's, and for the first time, she felt a spark of trust and subtle, romantic connection. Despite the harsh world, she realized she wasn't entirely alone anymore. The golden glow of sunset faded into warm lamplight inside the ranch house. Her chest rose and fell as she allowed herself to relax slightly. Ethan's presence was steady and protective. For the first time in days, she felt a small sense of safety and hope. The night whispered outside, but inside there was a fragile calm between them. The sun rose slowly over the dusty plains. Clara woke feeling the warmth of the golden light on her face. Her body ached from bruises, but the safe presence of Ethan gave her courage. She stepped lightly onto the wooden floor barefoot and followed him outside. The ranch stretched before them, dusty paths and fenced fields bathed in morning light. Ethan's chestnut horse grazed nearby. While he adjusted his brown hat and red bandana, he offered his hand again, and Clara took it without hesitation. A small smile touched her lips as she felt trust growing between them. The prairie wind carried the scent of hay and fresh grass across the open fields. Ethan led Clara to the corral, showing her the cattle and daily chores. She listened carefully, learning the rhythms of ranch life. Her bruises throbbed, but each moment spent with Ethan made her feel stronger. He showed patience and kindness in every action, his gaze steady and protective. By midday, the sun was high, casting long shadows across the fences and dirt paths. Clara felt a sense of belonging she hadn't felt in months. Even the small tasks seemed meaningful as she worked beside him. They shared brief glances and quiet smiles that spoke louder than words. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future that included hope and companionship. By late afternoon, Clara sat under a large tree near the corral. She rested her bare feet in the dirt and closed her eyes. Ethan stood nearby, checking the saddle and ropes. The warm sunlight filtered through the branches, highlighting her bruises and tired body. She felt safe, and a small spark of gratitude and trust grew in her chest. The distant lowing of cattle and the whispering wind made the scene calm. Ethan glanced at her and gave a small reassuring nod. She smiled faintly, feeling an unexpected connection forming. As evening approached, the sky turned orange and gold. Clara and Ethan walked back to the ranch house. Her bare feet pressed the soft dirt as she followed him carefully. The warm glow of the lamplight from the windows invited her inside. Ethan carried a small bundle of hay while keeping an eye on her. The room filled with soft light and quiet domestic sounds. Clara felt the weight of the day lifting. She allowed herself to relax finally, feeling the protective presence of Ethan. A subtle bond of trust and mutual care had grown between them. That night Clara sat near the fireplace, letting the warmth ease the aches in her body. Ethan prepared a simple meal while keeping a protective eye on her. The flickering light highlighted the bruises on her skin and her exhausted expression. They exchanged quiet glances and unspoken words. Clara felt her heart lighten as she realized she was no longer entirely alone. The lamplights and fire created a cozy glow around them. For the first time in a long while she felt safe and quietly happy. The night outside whispered across the plains, but inside there was calm. A fragile sense of hope and growing connection lingered in the room. The morning sun spread golden light across the dusty plains. Clara stepped outside barefoot, feeling the hard earth beneath her feet. Her bruises still throbbed, but the presence of Ethan gave her courage. He stood nearby, adjusting his brown hat and red bandana, watching her with care. The ranch was alive with the sounds of roosters and distant cattle. Clara felt a spark of hope. She followed Ethan toward the corral, each step giving her a sense of strength. Ethan showed her how to saddle the chestnut horse. Clara listened and mimicked his careful movements, her hands trembling slightly. He guided her patiently, correcting her posture and gently steadying the reins. "You're learning quickly," he said, a soft smile touching his face. Clara's heart warmed at his words, feeling safe and valued for the first time in weeks. By midday, the sun blazed high over the open plains, but she didn't mind. Working beside Ethan gave her a sense of purpose. In the afternoon, Ethan led her to a shallow creek nearby. Clara dipped her bare feet in the cool water, letting it soothe the aches from yesterday. Ethan knelt beside her, washing his hands in the flowing stream, occasionally splashing water playfully at her. Clara laughed softly, the sound light and free, making Ethan smile in return. They talked quietly about the ranch, the animals, and memories from simpler days. For the first time, Clara felt a sense of normalcy and fragile peace, her bruises aching less in the calm environment. As evening approached, the sky turned a deep shade of orange and purple. Clara and Ethan walked back to the ranch house, the dusty path bathed in warm light. She sank into a chair near the fireplace, letting its warmth ease her tired body. Ethan brought in hay and water, keeping a watchful, protective eye on her. The flickering lamplight highlighted her bruises and tired expression, yet she felt safe beside him. They shared quiet glances and subtle smiles, a bond of trust and growing affection farming between them. Before sleep, Clara stepped outside to look at the stars. The endless prairie sky stretched above, vast and calming. Ethan stood a few feet away, keeping watch silently, brown hat casting a shadow over his face. She whispered a soft thank you to the night, feeling gratitude and the hint of hope. Ethan only nodded, a small smile touching his lips. Clara realized she was no longer alone. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to dream, feeling the safety and warmth of his presence. The next morning, Clara woke to soft light filtering through the wooden shutters of the ranch house. Her bruises throbbed slightly, but she felt stronger than the day before. Ethan was already outside tending the horses, his brown hat casting a shadow over his face. Clara stepped barefoot onto the dusty path, feeling the cool earth beneath her feet. Each step reminded her she was alive, capable, and slowly finding courage again. Ethan noticed her and nodded. "Ready for today?" he asked gently. Clara nodded back, chest tightening with nervous excitement. They began with small chores: feeding chickens, carrying water, mending fences. Each task gave Clara a sense of purpose and slowly healed the invisible wounds inside her. By midday, Ethan guided her to the chestnut horse again. "Time for riding practice," he said. Clara climbed onto the saddle, muscles tense with fear and anticipation. Ethan stood close, steadying the reins and guiding her posture. The horse moved slowly, then into a gentle trot across the open plains. The wind whipped through her hair, sun warmed her back, and for a fleeting moment, she felt free. In the afternoon, they reached a shallow river cutting through the plains. Clara stepped cautiously into the cool water, feeling it soothe her aching feet. Ethan knelt beside her, keeping watch and offering a hand if she slipped. The sound of flowing water, distant birds, and gentle sunlight created a calm and almost magical atmosphere. Clara laughed softly as Ethan splashed water toward her, a sound of genuine joy she hadn't felt in weeks. The past pain felt distant as she let herself exist in that moment of peace. As the sun dipped, painting the sky orange and purple, they returned to the ranch. Clara's bare feet were dusty, her body tired, yet her spirit felt lighter. Ethan carried supplies back, his presence a steady reassurance in the vast open plains. They paused on the dusty path to watch the horizon together, side by side. No words were needed. Trust, care, and understanding passed silently between them. Night fell and the ranch grew quiet under a star-filled sky. Clara sat near a small fire, the warmth easing her bruised body. Ethan stood watch nearby, protective and calm. She looked at the endless stars above, feeling a quiet sense of hope. For the first time since arriving, Clara believed she could have a future here, somewhere safe, with someone who truly cared for her. The night whispered across the plains, and Clara allowed herself to dream, knowing she was not alone. Clara rode the chestnut horse barefoot across the plains. Ethan walked beside her, guiding the reins. The wind blew through her hair, and she smiled. The golden plains stretched endlessly around them. They returned to the ranch yard to do chores. Clara collected firewood carefully. Ethan carried water nearby. Each task gave her a sense of purpose. In the afternoon they rested under a tree. Clara read a letter from the past, feeling both sad and hopeful. Ethan stood nearby watching. Quietly, the breeze and sunlight made a calm atmosphere. In the evening they repaired the fence together. Clara held the tools and followed Ethan's guidance. He showed her patiently each step. The sky turned orange and purple as the sun set. Clara felt trust and comfort with Ethan. At night they sat by the fire. Outside, Clara felt warmth on her bruised body. Ethan watched the fire. Quietly, they shared stories, laughter, and silent glances. Clara looked at the stars, feeling hope and safety. The night was calm, and she believed in a better future with Ethan. Clara sat on the porch swing, watching the golden sunset, feeling calm and peaceful inside. Ethan stood beside her, his presence offering protection and care. Under the moonlit plains, Clara realized she was no longer alone. Inside the small cabin, they sat by the fire, sharing quiet moments and enjoying each other's company. Walking along the creek path, the reflections and moonlight deepened their trust and care. Under the large oak tree, Ethan tied the horse's reins while Clara felt safety and hope in his presence. This night marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, filled with trust, care, and hidden love. Clara and Ethan's future now felt safe, assured, and full of hope. The cool ranch breeze made every hardship seem easier with each other's company. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon.